So it was in a locker room much like this one. It was my freshman year of high school, and it was halftime. Our coach was going back and forth. Our players all had their heads down, and he was railing us because our first half performance was not very good. And I'll never forget him saying and asking these types of questions. He was standing in front of us and he was going, "What are we doing out there? I mean, we've got to do something different. What can we do different?" And the room was silent. Now, it was supposed to be one of those rhetorical questions that you're not supposed to answer. You know, one of those long dramatic pauses that inspires us to come out second half and do things better. But I guess I didn't pick up on that cue, and I rose my hand. And I said, "Coach, they're running a zone defense on us, and we're still running our motion offense. We need to switch it up. We need to run 3. Now, for the next month, I got made fun of and kind of referred to as Coach Osenga in practice by the rest of my coaches. But, today, as an educational leader, I feel like I'm in the exact same position as I was when I was a freshman in high school. I mean, when I look around, other educators have their heads held low. There's some good things going on, but for the most part, there's things that we've still been doing the same for years, and people are going, "There's got to be something better we can do. What can we do different?" And there aren't a whole lot of people giving any answers. Well, you know what I have to do? I have to stand up. I have to raise my hand. I guess you could say that when it comes to public education, I'm sort of a square peg in a round hole. 6 years ago, I was a landscape and interior designer. My bachelor's degree is in Bible and theology with a minor in landscape design, not your traditional bachelor's for someone who's an educational leader. I guess most principals, they've got the big desk in their office, and I've got a big armchair. Most principals are dress shoes and dress pants, and I'm sort of jeans and slippers. Most principals wear suits. Well, suits kind of wear me. I am a square peg in a round hole. I come to education looking through a different lens than most people. And what I've come to realize is that every student I interact with, every student I meet, to some extent or another, is a square peg who we are trying to fit through the round hole of traditional public education. So take Mallory, for example. Mallory's an awesome girl who struggles a little bit with reading and has some anxiety when it comes to being in large classroom settings. But when you pull her into a smaller classroom, she does awesome. But what's really neat to see is when you see Mallory in her element. And her element is working with students affected by autism. I mean, when you see this, you're just going, that's it! That is what you were created to do. And it is so awesome to see. Now take Jacob, for example. Jake, the first time I saw him in his classroom, just seemed like he was all over the place. I mean, he has a hard time staying focused and paying attention. But then when you talk to him one-on-one, you start to see that it's just because his brain is working 100 miles an hour. I mean, he started telling me about the things he does with the gears and the spokes and the sprockets and things of his bikes that he takes apart and puts together in new ways. And he's just lighting up as he's telling me about it. He also told me about all these dumpsters around town that he dives into to pull parts from old stereos and subs and things that he puts together to create new ways to get more wattage out of these amps and speakers. And my mind's just blowing because I'm going, I have no clue what you're talking about, but it is clear that you do, and it is clear that you are wired to do this. Now, as their principal, I'm constantly asking myself, am I doing enough? What can I be doing better? What more can I be doing for these kids to help them fully reach their potential? Now, take the other side of things. Take Devin, for example. Devin's at the top of his class. He's a state qualifying wrestler. And next year he's going to go off to college. When you sit down and talk with Devin, he doesn't really know what in the world he's going to do with his life. And the one thing he knows for sure about college is that he's not going to wrestle. Now, I'm not worried about Devin. I know he'll be fine. He's going to be totally successful whatever he chooses to do. But I have to wonder, as an administrator in a school district, what could we have done different to help Devin realize his niche, realize his creative potential while he was in high school. And then there's Haley. Haley's also the top of her class. She is the leader of about every organization possible, captain of the volleyball team, and over the last 4 or 5 years has been building this educational resume that has already gotten her scholarships and gotten her into a great school, and she knows what she wants to do. All with the hope that when she graduates college, she's going to land this great job. Well, in the 21st century job market, that recipe just doesn't equal that same end result anymore. I mean, you have to distinguish yourself. You have to stand out. And again, I've got to be wondering, are we doing enough? What could we be doing differently to help Haley, to help Devin, who for all intents and purposes have slightly more rounded edges that allows them to fit in the round hole of education a little bit easier, but at the same time are unique and different. How can we help them and empower them to live a life worthy of the calling that is on their life? So a few years ago, I was invited to a meeting at State Farm with a bunch of other educational leaders. And there were representatives from the State Chamber of Commerce, from Stephen Covey, who's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and of members of State Farm's management team. And they stood up in front of all of us principals and superintendents, and they said, hey, your end product, your graduates, they're not very good. Now, we all started squirming in our seats a little bit. They went on to tell us that our graduates are coming into their work world and are not ready. They don't have the skills they need. They don't feel comfortable enough in who they are to do what is needed to be done in the real world. Well, I left that meeting just with my mind spinning, and I knew just we had to be doing something different. Things needed to change. Again, I didn't know how, but I started just taking notice. Started taking notice of companies and organizations and people who are innovative, who do things different, and not just different to be different, but different that works. And automatically the people that started rising to the top and the companies that started coming to the top were companies out at Silicon Valley. Companies like Apple and Comcast and Microsoft and Google, especially Google. I mean, I dare you, go spend some time in Google, and just look at the things they do to empower their people, their employees, to reach their potential. The things they are doing are absolutely affecting and changing culture. What is it they are doing that we can apply in education? And I wanted to know this so bad that I actually flew out to Silicon Valley, and I spent time with team members of those companies and spent time on Google's campus. And I was looking through the lens as an educator saying, what is it that they do here that we can apply to schools to do things different, and different in the same way that they do, that empowers our students, our faculty, our community to live a life worthy of what they are called to do. I learned a ton. I mean, it was like hooking my mouth up to a fire hose. I was just flooded with information and ideas. And over the next year, I'm going to roll out that information, and I'm going to put it out there on videos and in blog posts and in tweets. And I want you guys to follow me. I want you to join me on this quest and to see what we can do to better empower our students to live a life worthy of the calling that they have received. Join me on this quest.